This is Providence Television International, the game changer.
Welcome to the newspaper analysis on Providence Television International. I am Ugbebo Ikekwa. With me to analyze the paper today is Dr. Emmanuel Igariba. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. And I want to say a big welcome to our viewers, our loyal viewers, both in Nigeria and also around the globe. I say welcome to the program once again.
And before we go straight to analyzing the papers, we'll take this commercial.
Join us today to celebrate a remarkable milestone, 15 incredible years of Karam Travels Limited. It's our honor today before you, reflecting on our journey and looking forward to the exciting opportunities ahead. First and foremost, we want to express our deepest gratitude to each and every one of you. Your trust, loyalty, and support have been the driving force behind our success. We're proud to have served thousands of travelers, creating unforgettable memories and fostering lifelong relationships. Over the past 15 years, we've navigated the ever-changing landscape of the travel industry.
There are divergent views on the issue of a death sentence. Across the world, some countries have abolished the death sentence, but in Nigeria, so many people have argued that no, it hasn't been abolished. Some say it is still being observed as a means of curbing some very, very serious criminal acts. That brings us to the front page of the Daily Sun, where we have Edo Assembly approves death sentence for kidnapping. What's your take on this, sir?
Well, first of all, we must say that it's not a screaming headline, but it's there on the front page of the Daily Sun. Now, the issue is, yes, divergent views, obviously. Some have said that it's becoming obsolete around the world, but some are saying, no, based on what the victims are subjected to. In Nigeria, for instance, through kidnapping, thousands of lives have been lost. And it's quite worrisome. And I think that's what the state government is looking at. They are not looking at the legal correctness of it all. But I believe that, yes, because it has affected so many people, lives lost cannot be brought back. And those who have perpetrated these evil acts must pay a price. That's what they are looking at. Well, yes, maybe it's experimental. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if this will serve as a deterrent. Okay. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4 incidents would just lead us to the right direction we should go. Okay? But yes, a lot of people have applauded this, knowing that, we've lost so many lives, come to think of it. So many lives through kidnapping, through banditry, and through these people they call the unknown gunmen. So there's been so much violence, and we must curb it to the barest minimum.
Okay. For the sake of our viewing public, from the angle of the law, does Nigeria still practice the death sentence?
Yeah, so many people on the death row, you know that, on the death row, either for murder or whatever it is. But the practice all over the world now, I think the generality of nations around the world are abolishing it because they believe that the human life is sacrosanct. But my take is, human life is sacrosanct to the extent that it's not taken at will. Okay, when bandits and kidnappers take lives, these lives are precious, okay? So it's the same degree of attention we must pay to the lives that were lost through these processes, okay?
All right. And so that brings us to our next story. Just about a week ago, we lost an elder statesman in Nigeria. And then just yesterday, the news came in again that another statesman had gone. Quite a generation, quite an era are living. I'm talking about the person of E. Clark. And on the front page of the Daily Times, Tinubu, Obi, Atiku, governors, others mourn as Edwin Clark dies at 97.
It's really very painful. It's a great personal loss to me because I've had to interact with him on 1 or 2 occasions. But let me just quickly say this. We are losing our heritage. Within a week, we lost Adebanjo. Now we have lost Clark. 2 people that have held the strands of the unity of this country. in their old age, and I must say that, particularly with Clark. May you remember one time he was even abducted from his home, or he got a letter of abduction when Buhari was here.
Exactly.
That's the old man there. Very brilliant, quite frankly. Ageless, though. If you were with him physically, you would not think that he was close to 100. I went to Kiagbodo a few years ago to interview him in his country home, and it was such a pleasure for me. I'm still going through our archives. We'll get some of these materials and we'll relay them appropriately. Now, why did I get to Kiagbodo? I singled him out to talk about the late Samuel Ugbemudia, because they were very close. Samuel Ugbemudia was celebrating his 80th birthday, and who will talk about him more affectionately? Clark, because they're so close. In fact, Ugbemudia was referred to as his mentor. Yes, he had great respect for Ugbemudia. They worked in tandem. They worked very, very closely. Look, let me tell you this. After his commissionership, Ugbemudia handed him over to Gowon. Yes, in the 70s. And Gowon made him, we'll repeat this picture. We'll talk about him. That's Gonwok there, one of the governors in those days. Gowon had great respect for Clark. But when I interviewed Clark, you know what he said? He said, Ugbemudia's legacy can never be forgotten, even in a century. Because most of the things we see today in Edo and Delta states were the handiwork of Ugbemudia. Okay? Mention them. University of Benin Teaching Hospital, Bender Line, Ethiop Line, Midwest Television, Delta Glass Factory, Delta Boatyard, and all of that. Numerous. And Ugbemudia held Clark like a brother. They worked hand in hand. And I want you to go to that picture with when Ugbemudia was with Gonwok. He also talked about this. Now, why did he talk about this? He said a lot of his brother governors, that's Ugbemudia now, they came to Midwest in those days to understudy what Ugbemudia was doing. That's Clark talking to me now. And he said Gonwok was one of them. Look at the picture there. Gonwok was the governor of Benue Plateau. Audu Bako from Kano, Mobolaji Johnson from Lagos. They all came to study what Ugbemudia was doing. And anywhere they went, Clark was always by his right-hand side because he believed so much in him. And we have lost him. As I said, we lost a great heritage. A detribalized Nigerian, fearless, almost to a fault, but very compassionate. Very, very compassionate. A great human being. In fact, one of the best human beings that I have seen all through my career. We can show the picture again. He believed in one Nigeria. He believed in the sanctity of the democratic process. That's why I think we're going to miss him so much. He believed in the development of the human person. I mean, look at what he did when he was commissioner here. We had what we call Western Ijaw Division in those days. But there was only one secondary school. I think it was in Burutu or somewhere. But he established many more. He established 5 in Western Ijaw Division. And I will mention them. Burutu Grammar School, 1. Oproza Grammar School in Patani. Ojobo Grammar School in Ojobo. Kiagbodo Grammar School, that was his own native place. And Yakromo Grammar School. All within the Ijaw-speaking area. Yes, so that's why he was referred to as the father of the Ijaw nation. And that was not by accident. Today, Edwin Clark University Kiagbodo is also tied to him. So he was a lover of education. Not just because he was a great lawyer, and not just because he was a commissioner for education in Midwest State, but because he suffered some deprivation. And he said to himself, no, I will not allow the generations I'm going to see to suffer all these processes. So Clark, was a great Nigerian, a great nationalist, a great Pan-African. People say Pandef. He was beyond Pandef. He was Pan-African, to be very honest. He rose above the din of the noise that we heard all around, and he became a great figure on the continent of Africa. The whole nation will mourn him, obviously, and I'm sure that, I'm almost certain that we cannot replicate Clark. There's no way we can replicate Clark. He's played his part. But I remember what he said, I think it's one of the papers. He said, he told his family on his dying bed that they should continue to struggle for the
fight for
emancipation
Nigeria. Yes,
of Nigeria.
exactly.
Even on his dying bed, he said so. Great man, Edwin Kagbodo Clark. His middle name was named after his place. And no wonder he established a university there. In his memory and in the memory of people yet unborn. So he was a great man, a great Nigerian, I must say that. I miss him a lot. That's why I say it's a great personal loss to me. Because I remember when I went to interview him, he said, look, Emmanuel, he got my name immediately when I told him once and said, Emmanuel, young man, how old are you? I told him, I said, but you don't look it. So thank you, Daddy. And he prayed for me. Prayed for me. We had lunch and all that. And the amazing thing is he spoke so well about Gwemudia. You know, he said, but he had his pain. He said University of Benin should have been named after Gwemudia. University of Benin, I hope the authorities are watching this. The University of Benin, because he founded it. The University of Benin, he carried that pain all through. That the University of Benin should have been named after Gwemudia. He was even so annoyed that an auditorium, the Auditorium University of Benin, was named after somebody else. I don't want to mention the name.
Yes.
But his greatest pain was that this university that we now call, don't forget that University of Benin started as MIT. That was when Gwemudia was the governor of the Midwest State, which now transformed to the University of Benin. Okay? So I would not be surprised if one of these days that university will be named after him.
Well, may his soul rest in peace.
Yes.
And so we move down to the Nigerian Tribune, where we have Jonathan kicks against deployment of military personnel for elections, says only police, INEC, should manage future elections.
Have we not said it here? Even before the election, the Edo State election, we said it.
Yes.
You know, that why do we need to militarize every election? You all kinds of battalions into the system. And that's not the norm in civilized climes. It's not the norm. We must demilitarize. But Jonathan was talking about the police and INEC. These are the same institutions that people have put on the table for criticisms. In other words, police must wear a new toga of efficiency, and a new toga of non-partisanship. That's what people are saying. For INEC, that's a different ballgame altogether. Because you see, I'm sure that at that same gathering where Jonathan spoke, the former president said something about electoral reforms, which we have also talked about here. Okay, we don't go into the body of the newspaper story, but he said it, and it's even trending, by the way, that we must take a second look at our electoral reforms. What is he saying? Electoral reform must have the face of sanctity. It must have the face of goodness and positive results, which we are still grappling with till tomorrow. And I believe that it can be done one of these days. One of these days can be done. I believe that the electoral umpire cannot just be unpicked by the president. It will go through the process of having so many people who are great lovers of this country to pick from among the lots, and then you subject them to the scrutiny of the National Assembly. That's when we'll probably get the best.
All right. And this takes us to the front page of this day newspapers, where we have in historic developments, Netherlands to return 119 Benin bronzes to Nigeria.
You are just talking of Netherlands. There are many more in the U.S., for instance, museums in Chicago, in New York, and the rest. And there are still many more in some other European countries, for instance. So kudos to the Oba of Benin, Monoba Ewari II. He has been on the front line in all of this. Those things are vestiges of our great historical past. And I'm sure that you cannot even quantify them in terms of Naira and Kobo. Yes, you cannot, because they are priceless. However, kudos also to the government of the Netherlands. They've decided to return this. Very soon, I'm sure that there will be a proper place for us to keep all these monuments and artifacts. They are coming back to the place where they belong. They were taken away from the palace of the Oba of Benin in 1897. And so they must come back there. That's my argument. And I think it's the argument of very many well-meaning people. It makes us feel proud as Benin people that some of those vestiges are coming back after all. There are still many more in Europe, particularly in the US. And you'll be shocked. In faraway US, they will still have some of these artifacts. They must come back. That's my prayer.
You made mention of a particular place. The museum is supposed to be where artifacts are kept. And I remember at the time there was this little furor about where should these artifacts be kept, who should collect them, should it be the palace, should it be... What's your take? Should it be the palace, should it be the state, or should it be the nation?
My take is, look, I mentioned it a little while ago. I mean, I probably made an allusion to it, that, look, they were taken from the palace.
Okay.
They were not taken from outside the palace. So these things belong to the palace of the Oba of Benin. So they must come back there. My take is a structure should be built, possibly within the precincts of the Oba Palace.
Okay.
The kind of museum, which can accommodate all of these things. And they are quite huge in terms of number. But it can be done. In the palace we have a vast land, and it can be put there. A structure can be put there. So that people can come. Yes. Tourists from all over the world, they can come and see these things firsthand. If it cannot be there, then it can be somewhere else, outside the palace. But it must be ascribed to the palace.
Yes.
The ascription must be to the advantage of the palace, and not to government.
Okay.
Because you see, Edo State was not even in existence in 1897. So you cannot talk about bringing it back to a place that was not existing in 1897. So it must come back to a place and the Oba Palace is still existing anyway. So that's my take.
Well, thank you so much. Quite some points raised there. But as is usual, the CEO has a parting shot for us.
Well, my parting shot today is very simple. Let us begin to be our brother's keeper all around. I see a lot of children these days. They want to cross the road. That's obvious danger. You are driving at breakneck speed. You must stop for them. Even when there are no traffic lights. I mean, these children are innocent, by the way. Let us be careful. Let us know how to deal with children. And if you are a passersby, hold their hands and let them cross. Not just children, the elderly. Yes, you must pander to them. Okay? And it's even a sin. It's a sin of omission. Now in the church, in the Catholic Church, for instance, there are 4 ways by which you can sin. From what you say, and let me put it this way. In the church, in what we do and what we fail to do. All right? I will dwell on this too. In what we do, that's our action. In what we fail to do, inaction. So it's a sin. Even though it's not a crime. I mean, that's the absurdity. If you are going on your own and you see a boy or a girl crossing the road and you refuse to stop, nobody's going to hold you accountable by law. But morally speaking, it's a sin. A sin of inaction. It's there in the Italian code, right? A sin of inaction. It's also a crime, for instance. So we must be very careful in the way we deal with the elderly, particularly those who have physical disabilities, the blind, the lame, for instance. If you see them, help them. It doesn't remove anything from you. And even children. Many of them go around going to fetch water and all sorts of things. They stay by the roadside. They want to cross. Some of them have been crushed by some very careless drivers. Yes, I've seen that many times. Very, very careless motorists. But if you're a passerby, you can stop the vehicles on your own terms and allow these little ones to pass by. So that's my take today.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Well, thank you so much for watching. Don't go away. Please stay tuned.